Howdy guys, it's Joe here, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I haven't actually seen a Junkrat main in quite a while. But I do want to put a caveat on that. I really haven't seen one since I got out of Platinum, and really since I got out of Medium to Highish Gold. Below that, I seem to find these guys everywhere in like a lot of my games, but especially in Plat and below. During a few seasons past, I saw them everywhere, and here I'm gonna go into my shallowed past and rip a tire of anger towards some of them and towards some of the things that I saw very common from Junkrat mains, at least when I saw them played, and still sometimes even today. With that said, of course, this may not apply to you. You might be a Junkrat main that does none of these things, and that's really great. But just kind of talking about what I've seen in the past, and just kind of, sympathizing with you guys that have had bad experiences by yourselves. Anyways, with that all said, let's just get started onto this. The first thing that I feel like that I've seen a lot from Junkrat mains, at least from my own experience, is the fact that they will never, ever switch off of Junkrat. Less than really any other players that I've even played with. Now, I've played with a lot of different mains, of course, the Hanzo mains, the Widow mains, and the McCree mains. They will sometimes switch. But with Junkrat in particular, I don't know if it's just me, but I can never get them to switch to anything. And if I finally do get the switch, it's usually to another DPS character. Of course, a lot of people do this with a lot of different mains, but especially with Junkrat, I don't think I've gotten any single time when I can get one to go support or tank. Maybe that's just from my experiences though, but I feel like that's a thing that happens very, very often. And I feel like a lot of them just really over-expect how strong their character is. While he is decent, he's not the best in the world. Continuing from there, I also feel like a lot of people kind of just ignore how bad some of his matchups are. When you're Junkrat versus a Pharah, when you're Junkrat versus a McCree, and of course when you're Junkrat versus someone like an Ana or a Widowmaker, you're going to be in really big trouble unless you position really, really well. But what happens a lot of the times is people just run up close range. They don't really position well, and they just kind of go all out for it. They don't really think about how badly they're going to be countered by the enemy's teams. There's just a lot of characters that do really, really well against Junkrat. I just want you guys to kind of think about that before you're going into another match where you're just going to go in and just not do good with the character. Continuing from there, I'm also going to say, if you are playing every single game as offensive Junkrat, then you should not be wondering why you're losing a lot of your games. Of course, this especially applies to huge maps. If you're on King of the Hill, or if you're on very close quarter, small maps, when you're on offense, that can be fine. But if you're on a giant map, on offense, and you aren't getting any kills, and you aren't getting much stuff except for damage on Reinhardt shields, maybe it could be the time to switch. It's just overall very hard for Junkrat to play on certain maps or against certain team comps, which I feel like is kind of annoying for Junkrat players. You want to be able to spam your guy out, and you want to be able to play him as much as you want to, but sometimes it's just going to be hard, and sometimes you might want to switch it up to help your team and to even just help yourself climb up the ratings. From there, one of the things that I'd say most people could kind of relate to a little bit, be it Junkrat or a lot of other characters, but especially I see this with Junkrat just because he's so good at being able to get this, is them saying that they have gold damage, therefore they're playing amazing, they're playing the best, and everyone else in their team sucks. They should not have to switch, they should not have to change the playstyle at all. And then when you watch them for a second, they're just shooting straight into the Reinhardt shield, not really doing any effective damage at all. Just kind of going for that, maybe charging their own ult, but of course also charging a lot of the enemy support's ults, and of course firing a ton while he already has his ult full of charge, and then just purely charging the enemy support's ults. And that's the thing that I just hate with every character, but with Junkrat in particular, he's very, very good at getting this gold damage. But at the same time, a lot of times you can barely get any eliminations because he's just not the best at getting elims all the time. My problem comes, that can be fine if you're just doing a lot of damage. You're doing fine for the team. My problem comes when you flame your team when you have this gold damage, but that's it. You don't have gold anything else. You aren't doing great in anything else. You're just doing a lot of damage to shields. And while it is useful, you shouldn't flame your teammates, and you should just keep playing the best you can while not trying to piss off everybody else. I don't know how many times I've seen that, but with Junkrat and with a lot of other characters, I've seen that quite a bit. Continuing from here, something that I see pretty decently often is Junkrats that are putting their traps out in the open. Very easy to see, and people just kind of picking them off all the time. Overall, I feel like Junkrat's trap ability, while not the most powerful one in the entire game, can be very good, can catch people off guard, and especially can protect your supports from flankers if you do put it around the corner, where people usually try to flank your supports, and then your supports can maybe get a kill off that. But a lot of the times, you're just kind of throwing it out in the middle of the field, just throwing it out where nothing really happens, or just throwing it out on the ground, and the enemy just immediately blow it up, or even just throwing it into a team fight where you're just stopping someone like a Reinhardt or someone like a Roadhog where you really aren't doing way too much. Just put a little bit more priority into that trap, as it can do quite a bit, especially when helping your supports. Now to the thing right before my final point, I'm just going to say, please, if you are playing Junkrat a lot, stop ulting out in the open where anybody can kill you. I don't know how many times I've gone into a game, I'm playing pretty well, everyone's playing pretty well, the Junkrat's even playing really, really well, but then he just ults in the middle of all Sky Industries, and then, you know, the Widowmaker takes him out, the Soldier takes him out, the Ana takes him out, or maybe even someone like a Reinhardt just shifts up and takes him out. Please, consider yourself, keep yourself alive, and make sure that you have a good height advantage, or that you're behind a wall somewhere that's hard to reach before you go for the ultimate. And then, of course, the final thing that I feel like a lot of people do need to work on just a little bit is to learn to actually spam around corners, spam in choke points, and keep dealing damage in the areas that, honestly, Junkrat does really, really well in. And a lot of maps, such as Numbani in the first point, you can do pretty well depending where the enemies are jumping. But a lot of the times what I see is, instead of, you know, shooting it into the choke point where the majority of the enemy team is going to be in, where all your splash damage is going to do the most damage, you're going after one pick at a time. Or you're just shooting somewhere else, just trying to get someone else, trying to just get a solo kill. You should really be staying with your team, trying to get as much AoE damage as you possibly can, and stop aiming just for key targets, but just aiming for everyone. As many people as you can possibly get, as that's really what Junkrat really excels at, and what he can kind of just destroy the enemy team at as a whole with. He's really a strong character when the time is right, and if you are playing him in the right way, where he's spamming around choke points, dealing a lot of damage that way, and just bursting through people, he can be a really strong character. I feel like just a lot of people have somewhat of a problem trying to play him, and a lot of times they just kind of get focused on getting 1 or 2 kills, instead of actually helping their team destroy everybody at the same time. And then, of course, the actual final thing that I just need to mention for, like, every single character, but Junkrat as well, please stay behind the right heart shield, and spam behind that like you should be doing. I don't know how many times I just walk forward as Reinhardt. I'm going at a decent pace, and then somebody walks in front of it. The Junkrat walks in front of it, shoots a few shots, gets killed, and then we lose the team fight. Stay behind the shield, stay safe, and have fun, everybody. And that's it. Those are really my only complaints about Junkrat players, the Junkrat mains, and of course, I don't really have way too much experience with higher elo Junkrat players, so of course, if you're one of those people, I really have no Johns, no beef, nothing really bad. Just some stuff that I've experienced in the past that I like to get out of my system, so I'm a little bit less salty every single day. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, I hope you did enjoy. Hope that this could help you sympathize a little bit if you've had a Junkrat main in your past that has not been the best or hasn't tickled your fancy. As well as always, though, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below who you want to see in the next video like this. And as always, guys, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful day.